94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city and home of the Juan Castillo Morning Show. Good morning, New Haven. This is Moving Target. I'm your host, Jay Kemp. And with me, as always, is my comrade, Remedy Sharif. What's good, bro?
Peace, peace, peace. Super Saturday, y'all.
Just want to give you a hand clap, bro.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you. And we also got Young King Spence. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, man? What's going on, New Haven?
Another one for you, bro. People love you. They love you.
Oh man, that feels good to hear.
And yo, and shout out to the other brothers that's that try to cop our Super Saturday zone. You know how,
Oh, it's from another station.
From another station, man.
Yeah, y'all know you heard it here first. Super Saturday on 94.3 WYBC. Moving Target.
Yeah.
We got a really great show for you today. It's actually going to be really controversial. I'm going to open up the phone lines because I'm sure our guest is going to get some questions of like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? And he has receipts. He has the facts. All right, so we're going to get to that. But before we do, let's get into some current events.
Yeah.
They love the current events too.
Yeah.
I gotta get I got the Kawhi Leonard laugh too.
Wow.
I'm gonna use that somewhere. I don't know where.
At some point.
I want to actually shout out, everybody that called in last week. It was really fun vibing out with everybody. But we had a phone call that was so funny. I wish I can remember her name. It was in regards to the two news anchors, and the white woman said there was like a story about a gorilla, and the white woman said to the black news anchor, "He kind of looks like you." And the black news anchor was like, "I guess you're right," And we ended up talking about that. She ended up apologizing the next day, and we were just kind of critiquing that whole situation. And somebody called up and was like, "But he does look like a gorilla." I thought that was hilarious. But whoever you were, thank you for that. I needed that laugh that day. That was really great. So let's get on to some things. Rem, I know you feeling good. I know it's a good Super Saturday for you because your Cowgirls got
so disrespectful. Let's just end it now.
What's that?
We ain't gonna. I
mean, Cowboys. My bad.
You know what I mean? They so disrespectful.
It's a habit. I'm sorry. I apologize, brother.
Man, but yeah. We're gonna get in them Giants tomorrow.
All right.
Well, handle them Giants
let's
tomorrow.
get into some more current events instead of the Masters sports or the Masters game. In New Haven, we had the debate that went down between Mayor Tony Harp and Justin Elicker. I couldn't make it. All right, so daddy duty on a weeknight, not happening. You know what I mean? Especially when I don't want either candidate. And as the big brother Juan stated before the show, the opinions of Moving Target have nothing to do with the station. So we here at Moving Target are all in together now. All in together now for who? Seth Poole.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We are all for Seth Poole. And that's pretty much, I don't know. I'm not really with either candidate. I, of course, know the history of Mayor Tony Harp. I don't know Justin Elicker. And I encourage everyone who is voting, know who you're voting for. Don't just vote no Tony Harp because everybody's like, oh, she's lying. Get your own understanding of what's really going on.
Not only that, don't just look to these debates that they set up for everybody to see. Don't just look to that. Try to dig a little deeper. And you got brothers like Seth Poole who they don't give that gigantic platform to. Right. We got to create that platform. Yeah. So dig a little deeper and see what some of these other brothers are talking about, other men, other women, you know what I mean, that might want to run for that seat. But we know Seth Poole. We could stand behind that brother and what he's done and what he's doing. So, yeah.
What was interesting, what I was reading was that, I guess there is some type of, you can opt to have a campaign where the most that an individual can give you is like $390. Or you can say, no, I'm not going to opt for that. And somebody could give you up to $1,000.
Right.
Mayor Hart was saying, look, to get this campaign and to really run for mayor, I can't do it off of what people will donate in here. I got to go and get big money,
right?
Which she's saying from these big corporations. And people were upset about that. But I'm like, is she lying? Like, is there another way to run for mayor other than making sure you got funds? Right. So, I mean, I really didn't understand why that was, such a problem. I applaud Justin Elliker for, limiting that and saying, I'm going to go to the people, I'm going to be around the neighborhoods, and because we see him,
Right.
and that's the thing with Mayor Tony Hart. Look, I want to see you. I've been at some events where there's not big press and I don't see you.
Right.
I want to see you where I don't see big press.
Right.
That's the reason why I like grassroots work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because grassroots work requires us to be able to see you and reach you.
Right.
How you unreachable?
Right.
Because you are.
And claim that you care.
Right.
And claim that you care. You're for the people. You're with the people. Claim that you care. But on real issues concerning the people, and most times the most devastating issues that concern the people, they not around. Yeah. She not around.
Well, and I mean, and that's just from my perception. I could be wrong, you know what I'm saying? But that's just, again, me as a community member. That's what I've experienced, But definitely, we've already shown our endorsement, you know what I mean? But let's move on to some other news I want to get into real quick. Jay-Z and the NFL, got into some hot water. We know we've touched on that each week since he announced his partnership. But I guess there is also they've been giving funds to a organization called Crushers Club, and where Sally Hazelgrove, a white woman, was cutting the locks off of two young black men back in 2016. And was taking pictures of it, video of it, and saying this represents their change and for a new life and transformation, and the criticism comes because it's like, why is cutting the locks representing a new life and, something better? You know what I mean? Wow. And Jay-Z, and they gave like $200 and something thousand to this club, to this organization. So he's getting flack for it, and all that. Everybody's going crazy. But I just want to make one thing clear, man. Jay-Z is not your black leader. Right. He's not the black leader. Right. I don't know. To me, when we look at other people to be the leader and make the change, we take responsibility off of ourselves to be the change. So it's like, don't look at this person to be that, to do that. What are you doing?
I think sometimes, man, what it comes down to me sometimes, when you got certain people that got certain platforms, and they speak to issues that affect, the general people, the regular people. When you got these certain big, iconic, let's say, people, and they speak to these issues, it's almost like that light is put upon them. So it's not that I don't think some people, maybe it takes away from what we feel like we could do or they feel like they could do. I just think sometimes that is just like, you look for these people because they're in that space, they're in that platform, and then and you're hoping they're gonna shed more light on different things and almost give you a certain lane that you can go into.
Yeah,
when
those days are over though. Like, we have to remember, Jay-Z's still a capitalist.
Well, yeah,
first
absolutely.
and foremost,
you gotta know.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We need to just look at what we're doing as an individual in our community on a grassroots level, and not be so. I'm not going to say it's fake outrage, but there's a lot more that's happening in our city that you should be more outraged about than Jay-Z, who probably didn't even know that money was going to Crushers Club or whatever. I don't really think he was at the table with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But nevertheless, let's look to ourselves for that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we are going to go on to our topic, to our guest. And the question that we are asking is child support a fraud? Is it real? What do we really know about child support? And this is for men and women. We have the CEO of Pardon Me, and the founder of Pardon Me, Lamont. Tell me your last name, brother.
Moy.
Lamont Moy. Thank you for joining me, brother.
Sure, thank you.
And I just want to just play this real. Everybody has heard the Dave Chappelle. Well, not everybody, but many people have heard the Dave Chappelle stand up. And I just want to go into something that he said, which prompted me to kind of start talking about this. And then, sure enough, I get introduced to you. I just want to hear this.
Check it out.
The right to choose is their unequivocal right. Not only do I believe they have the right to choose, I believe that they shouldn't have to consult anybody, except for a physician, about how they exercise that right. Gentlemen, that is fair. And ladies, to be fair to us, I also believe if you decide to have the baby, A man should not have to pay.
And that's where everybody in the room was like, oh, I don't know about all that. So I want to get into this. So Lamont, we spoke briefly, and the thing that stuck out to me was that you said child support is a fraud. Explain that to us.
Yes, sir. I do think it's fraud, and mainly how it's conducted. But let me just first share some what I call appetizers.
Okay.
Kind of get people stirred up. One is child support is not for the child. Two, no one is ever arrested for not paying child support. Question about does the judge have the most power in the courtroom? Child support being voluntary. Both parents are being pimped when it comes to Title 4D under the Social Security Act of 1975, which is what we know as child support. We have to understand that we're not persons and we're not human beings. What else? So the reason it's fraud again is because of the way it's being conducted. One of the things that makes it fraud is the due process piece.
Okay.
A lot of people are not just fathers, mothers as well. If the father have the children, the women are paying. But one of the things that make it fraud is the due process piece. For a lot of brothers and sisters, money is being deducted from their check without having a court hearing.
So doesn't it usually happen where it's like if the woman or if the mother or the father says, I want to go for child support, doesn't that happen where it's like, okay, we're going to go for child support, and then both parents have to go to the court and then they determine that way? Isn't that the due process?
Well, both parents don't have to go to court, one. And two, you can go to Child Enforcement Services, which I believe is on Chapel Street in New Haven, and you don't have to go to court, and money will begin being deducted from your check. And that's what I'm talking about when I say due process. Normally, judges are covered under what they call immunity. They cannot be sued unless they violate your civil rights. Any judge can be sued if they violate your civil rights. And you may not be able to get a monetary settlement, but they go straight to jail. Do not pass, go. They go straight to jail for violating your civil rights. And violating your rights to due process is a violation of your civil rights.
So basically, if you go to child services and from there
Agree to pay.
you agree to pay, and they start taking money out your check and nothing happened in court, then the proper way of doing that has been violated.
Right. Well, and even if you don't agree, if the women go down to Child Enforcement Services and sign you up, and they can start taking money out of your check without a court hearing. So, and it's just like any other case, whether it's criminal law, civil law, trust law, it's traffic court, family court, it still has to be a hearing. You have a right to a hearing. You have a right to legal representation. You have a right to a trial by jury, even with child support. And this is a lot of things we don't know. Another thing that makes it fraud is that there are only three branches of government: legislative, judicial, and executive. Right.
Right.
Child Enforcement Services is neither. They're not a branch of government. That means they cannot enforce law and they cannot practice law. So by them doing that, they're supposed to. Every agency who is not a branch of government must be inferior to the court. By Child Enforcement Services pushing child support, enforcing child support, practicing, what they've done was create a tribunal that's unconstitutional because they're acting as they're superior to the court. That's the other thing that makes it fraud.
Wow. So now, what would happen in a situation where I end up saying, you know what, this ain't right, I'm not paying this because you didn't go through the right channels, you didn't go through the court. So what happens now? Do I have to get a lawyer? Do I have to go to the court and say that? How do I even address that?
Well, at first you need to file a motion. Now,
And to be clear, I don't pay child support because I'm split right down the middle. I just want that to be clear. Like Jay trying to get out of paying child support.
Right.
No, I got a good situation.
right, and you know what, and that don't mean much because when I got divorced about 10 years ago, we went to court, and this was established at the dissolution of marriage in court about
Okay.
child support. So we both had legal and physical joint custody.
Right.
And that didn't matter. I had both of my daughters 3.5 days out of the week, and mom had them for the other. It's only 7 days in the freaking week.
Right. Right.
So we both had them both for 3.5 days, and I would have them for the whole summer.
And you were still
Required to pay child support. Unemployed, still required to pay child support. Income tax taken, still required to pay. They don't care. And just like crime, every crime is commercial. Every crime is about money. When you go to jail, it's the debt. You have to pay by incarceration. And this is the difference between criminal, civil, and trust. Criminal law, you got to go to jail. That's how you pay the debt. Civil law, you pay a fine. Trust is more fair.
okay.
You know what I mean? It's more fair.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. You know, let's say I have roosters, and you're my neighbor, and you take me to court. Say, yo, this Negro got too many roosters, cock-a-doodle-doo, and keeping me up all night. Trust court would say, okay, you can only have 5, can't have 10, and you need to build a chicken house. You know what I mean? They're not going to fine
okay.
you. The civil court, you're going to get fined. Criminal court, you're going to jail. So, and again, as one of my appetizers I mentioned, no one ever goes to jail for incarceration for not paying child support. That don't exist. That don't happen. It can't happen because it's not a law. It's presumed law. And most of these things, you know, I'll touch on today, are presumed law until you challenge it.
Right.
And all law is presumed. It's made by presumptions and assumptions. And this is why you can't get stopped from the cops at checkpoints to see your ID. You can't stop me and ask me for a driver's license. You have to assume I have a driver's license, or I would not be behind the wheel.
But if you're speeding, then that would be probable cause, so they could say, hey, we need to see your driver's license, right?
Well, speeding, but I'm talking about checkpoints. Just
Check-
stopping.
Okay, right.
Just
right.
stopping
Yes.
you, even during a holiday on the highway. Soon you get on, they pull you over. No, you pull me over, but you can't see my ID. Where am
Right.
I going? That's none of your business. That's personal. Where I'm
Right.
going.
So let's understand this though, because you said nobody goes to jail.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you said nobody goes to jail for not paying child support.
Right. It can't happen.
So what is happening?
Okay, let me touch on that. So, right, I know.
Because brothers is going to jail.
Because brothers go to jail, man.
True indeed. I know. I jump all this stuff is in my head. So
Yeah, I can imagine. It's a lot.
I'm jumping all over the place. So yeah, no one ever goes to jail for not paying child support. You go to jail for violating a court order. So once you agree to pay child support, and you stop, whether you get incarcerated, lose your job, it don't matter. Once you agree to pay child support and you're no longer paying child support, you violate a court order, and that's what you're arrested for.
Right.
Now most people say, hey, I never agreed to pay child support. I never agreed to pay. They still take my money. Yes, they can take your money because even though you did not agree, you acquiesce. You didn't dispute it. So if you don't dispute it, just like if I say, yo, man, you stole my car. You stole my car, and you don't respond. What am I going to think? I'm going to think you stole my car.
Right.
So even though you didn't agree to pay child support, if you don't dispute it, you have to go to court, you have to open
You
up
have
a
to
motion,
do that
and
work.
you have to say, I do not consent.
We're gonna go to a phone call. Oh, they just hung up. Call if you want to call back. Feel free. I'm sure Lamont is here to answer questions.
Yes, sir.
So go on. I'm sorry.
So even though you didn't,
Actually, we got him right here. Let's get him on. 94.3.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Tremel.
Tremel, how are you?
I'm doing okay.
You got a question for Lamont?
Well, no, I don't have a question. What I have is a comment, because a lot of the comments that I'm hearing aren't all 100% accurate. You know, there's a lot of things that go into this mix. I deal with this a lot because you know, I help dads and fathers and and I understand how the court system works.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are being said that are kind of confusing for people.
Mm-hmm.
And if given the chance, I can explain a few of them. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Is there anything particular that you wanted to clarify?
Yeah, one of the main things is this: is that we get hung up on this idea of child support as a something around our neck. But basically, what happens is that child support was something that was put in place many, many years ago because women did not have access to getting a job or being able to take care of themselves. Their husbands was the main person that took care of them. So when they divorced, what happened is that the husband is now taking his resources away from the wife. So the courts took child support as a way of giving some money back to the wife, back to the house, so that he can help, pay for the things that he was paying for before.
Right. Right.
You see?
Yeah.
Taken care of.
No, that's some great context right there. I appreciate your call, Jamel.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Oh, go ahead, brother.
And the other part of this is that the idea that about a court being not involved, child support can act like they are an agency that is, like we are the court, but they are not. And so for them to get an order from us, they do have to take us to court, and it's basically the person against the child support, agency. They have the same, how can I say it, the same restrictions that we have when we're in court toward that judge. So if they say something that's illegal or so, they can also be reprimanded by the judge.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but it's not the parent versus child enforcement services because, and what he said was true about the court and it is a neck around their neck because of the way it's done. But as far as the court case, it's not child enforcement services versus Lamont Moy because it has to be a claim. And it doesn't matter what kind of case, there has to be a claim. And child enforcement services do not have a claim against me because I did nothing to them. There has to be a...
No. Okay, I understand. I understand that part of it. But the whole idea is that for any child support order to be vacated or enforced, it has to come from the judge. It has to come from the bench. It can't come from an agency outside of that venue.
Right. That's true. That's true. But they're allowing they're allowing child enforcement services to enforce it, and that's the other problem. They're allowing them to enforce it. And
listen, Mr. Moore, you're exactly right. The child enforcement process is to enforce and collect. That's what they're about. It's collecting on something that that they've put together, and they say that this is the schedule. This is what you owe based on your child and based on what you make.
Yeah.
So that's what they are. They are an arm of a collection agency, basically.
Hey, thank you so much, Tremaine. We're gonna move on because we got some more callers. But thank you so much for your insight.
You're welcome.
Have a great day. Yeah. So what I'm hearing so when it comes to who the person, why is it important to know who is making the claim? Like, why is that an important piece of information for parents to know, as far as like who's bringing you to court?
Because that's court. That's court. No way around it. Whenever you're being brought to court and an accusation is being made where you're being fined or you have to pay something, there has to be a claim. He was correct about the idea of how child support started, and it was a good idea. Someone came up with an idea. Okay, it did have to do with women being on welfare, so let's get some money from the fathers to offset the debt, so women can depend on child support less. Yes, that was the idea, and it was a good one. But the way they're going about it is totally wrong. And like I was saying, they pimp both the men and the mother and the father. Whenever a woman signs her child up for child support, she has to pay a $25 application fee. In the year 2013, they served I believe 1.4 million families. So that's $25
Wow.
times 1.4 million. That same year, they collected 28 billion in child support. That's not a lot of money. 28 billion is not a lot of money because we're talking about all states. Child support is a federal statute. Federal means all states. It's a statute. It's not a law.
Yeah.
It's not a law. And yeah, again, they get money from both parents.
Yeah.
And not only that, I mean, I think was very important on that note too. When it comes to feeling like both parents are being pimped, this is automatically creating a divide between the family as well, to where most times when men and women, especially of color, see, it feels like we're going back and we're being put before the thing that has oppressed us, meaning
Right.
this system.
Right.
So this creates a natural divide between that family, because now they can't communicate no more. They don't want to deal with each other no more. They're frustrated, and generally it's the man that's very frustrated because he's the one in front of the court. He's the one that's going to jail 99.9% of the time, or
Right.
however it's being proceeded upon. So it makes it very hard.
I want to go to another phone call. See, get it. 94.3.
Hi, I just wanted to state a couple of things. Number one, he just said it's the man that's usually in court, man that's going to jail, but unfortunately it's the man that leaves the house, and when he leaves the house, he thinks he's supposed to take the support with him. A lot of times the woman is working, but we need help with rent, help with groceries, school clothes, tuition, etc.
Absolutely.
Men will walk away. Men walk away from that when they're finished with the woman. They're finished with their kids in a lot of instances.
Very true.
If they could sit down and come to an agreement about child support together as mom and dad, then there wouldn't be this issue. But it never happens like that.
Yeah.
And pimp, no, I don't think they're pimping us. We have a responsibility to the life we just brought into the world.
Thank you so
Both
much.
of us need to pay for it.
But let me add
Okay,
to
go
that too. Let me add to that too. Like there are many cases of women that have been hurt, and they're bitter about whatever happened in that relationship. They're bitter about divorces. I mean, these things are happening as well.
Right.
And then
Yes, that's
because
correct, but men are bitter too.
Yeah,
Men get bitter too.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But so that's what I mean when I say the man is the one that's usually in front of the court. You know what I mean? Because it's the woman that has the children, and we commend our especially our black women that are doing a very hard job raising our children a lot of times alone. You know what I mean?
right.
But again,
Yes.
it goes back to the dynamic of the family, because if the man and the woman could sit down again and come to a certain understanding, we would be able to help and aid each other instead of running to a system that is designed
Yeah.
to oppress us
Right.
and we can't get from out of front of.
And
What's your name?
My name is Star, and I agree with that last statement. If we could just talk, compromise, whatever,
Yeah.
so we wouldn't have to use the system.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your insight. I appreciate your
All
call.
right.
All right.
Have a good day.
You
as
too.
well.
Yeah. And let me be clear. And what the caller was saying, she was absolutely right. But we can go back and forth on that issue where,
Who did what and who's bitter?
right.
Who's yeah.
And even though we're paying, the mother's not allowing us to see the children. And for any fathers out there who having a difficult time seeing their children and getting joint custody, we can help with that. It's easier than you think. But let me be clear about what we do as Pardon Me Inc. All the fathers that we assist, all the fathers that we help, if they have children that are underage, they still must pay child support. We do not help them. They must sign a contract between them and the mother, stating that they will continue to pay child support if the child is underage. So we don't want people to think, we came up with an idea to get fathers off from paying. You still have to take care of your child. You made that child. You still have to take care of that child. And so some people ask, well, what's the difference? Here's the difference, the big difference. The court is no longer in your business. It's between you, the mother, and the child. The court did not help you make that child. The court has absolutely positively nothing to do with your child or being in your life. So the fathers we help, they must sign a contract saying they will continue to pay child support. The difference is One, they won't have to worry about losing their driver's license in the case they lost their job. Two, they won't have to worry about losing their passport. Three, they won't have to worry about losing their tax return, and most importantly, being thrown in jail. And no one can be and this is why I was saying earlier that no one is ever thrown in jail for not paying child support, because the Bill of Rights says no one can be incarcerated for a debt. It doesn't matter what kind of debt it is. Student loan, mortgage loan, child support, no one can be incarcerated for a debt. So so this is why we know it's not a law. But again, yes, you're not getting out of paying child support.
So what can, a lot of times when I speak, I know so many brothers, and I think what's important to really know, off the rip is the history behind why child support even came in, right? I mean,
Right.
it wasn't, it was definitely to help the woman, but make no mistake about it, there was an indirect initiative to somehow limit more of the black man being able to come up. And I'm just gonna say it flat out.
Yes.
You didn't have a bunch. It just, that is the truth. I'm not saying it's all just black people being affected by this now,
Right.
But we're talking about at the conception of child support, right?
And not having the money to
Right.
to deal with it.
So now, with that being said, when I speak to a lot of brothers now, they are good fathers. They're in a tough time. You know
Right,
what I'm
right.
saying? And while they're trying to come up, while they're trying to work, while they're trying to, and then other things that are kind of messing with their psyche or their
Right.
psychology at that moment. Their mental health might not be in the best place. They
Right.
might feel stressed and depressed. While they're trying to do all that, the courts are coming saying, you got to be here,
Right.
or you're going to be at this, or you're going to, and it's like, man, how is that cycle going to help that man? And then I've heard other sisters who have said, and brothers who have said, look, save your receipts, go down there with your receipts. But now I'm hearing the receipts don't even matter. I'm hearing the receipts, like, you could give all the receipts you want, that still won't be anything that can hold up in court. So
Well,
what can men do?
Not towards child support. It's considered a gift. You know what I mean?
It's considered a gift.
It's considered a gift. You know what I
So
mean?
if you come with all the receipts of everything you've paid, every dollar,
right,
that's considered a gift
that's
that cannot be.
And you owe $2,000 in child support. None of them receipts, nothing that you pay for on the receipts go toward that $2,000. They're like, well, look, good, that's fine that you did that. However, though, this is this over here, and we're gonna figure out a way how you gonna pay this, or you're going to jail.
Oh.
Bottom line.
So what do we do about that, Lamont?
Well, you're right. As far we did touch on how it began.
Yeah.
It was a good idea to offset the debt. Yeah, and
It was a good idea for America, but
America.
it was definitely a blow to the people.
Well, the way it's conducted is not lawful, and I agree with you as far as putting another barrier in front of us, making another hurdle, making more hurdles for us. I definitely agree with that. But again, getting back to the way how it's done, it's a violation of the equal protection law, because whenever you take money from me and give it to another person, now we're unequal financially. It's fraud, because we have a right to know. Child support is a contract. It's a contract, and this is the thing that we don't know. Not only do we not know it's a contract, we don't know how to claim our status when we go to court. And claiming your status has to be the same every time you go to court. It doesn't matter if it's criminal, civil, trust, family, child support, traffic court. And let me just give you a brief, the things you need to say. Well, it's probably in my head, but just like we don't talk to the police, we don't talk. You never, ever, ever answer judges' questions. And a judge should not be asking you questions. A judge should not be asking you questions. The only time a judge asks you, only reason why a judge asks you questions is to trip you up, because they know they take in count consideration that take for granted we don't know the law, and we don't.
So I'm in court. And the judge is asking me questions, and I'm just looking at him like, well,
You shouldn't go to court.
okay, so I shouldn't even be there.
You shouldn't even be there. If you go to court, and people say you're not supposed to go through the double doors or you're boarding their ship.
But how else do you dispute it if you're not, like, what's the other way to dispute it?
You're not supposed to go to court. They're supposed to bring you from downstairs, from the bullpen, or they're supposed to bring you in handcuffs, or bring you by subpoena. But you're right. So when you do go to court, because you're there voluntarily, whether you went through the double doors or not. Soon you walk in that building, you're on their ship.
Okay.
And this is all, it has to do with all this bull crap maritime law, just like police cars. What do we call them?
Patrol cars?
It's something, another name. Cruise.
Oh, cruisers.
Cruiser,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
The ship
yeah.
is a freaking cruise. It's all about maritime law. When you first go to court, you first have to say this is a special appearance.
Right.
I mean, we should know that by now. That's saying I'm not here under my own free will giving you jurisdiction over me. This is a special appearance.
So
And they know what that means.
Okay.
If you
Yeah. 94.3.
Yeah, hello, how you doing?
How are you? Who am I speaking with?
Yeah, this is Chief the Freak, a.k.a. Pierre. How you doing today, brother?
Peace, brother. You got a question or a comment?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I was listening to the show, and me, Jay, you and I talk about this.
Oh, okay. What's up, bro?
What up, Remedy? I hear y'all out there.
Peace and
This
blessings.
is important work. This is important conversation.
Yes.
And women got to start getting involved in this too. Women whose sons are being controlled and manipulated by this beast and monster of a system that is. It's important that we just address this from like a legal standpoint. And so I guess one of my questions was, is there some precedence for a violation of our constitutional rights, right? I mean, besides the way that they underhandedly changed the arrest from owing a debt to being in contempt of a court order, is there some violation of the separation of the branches of government if the state is running a federally mandated program and paying the judges to arbitrate?
Lamont?
Well, it is a conflict of interest for the judges to get paid, and also in this situation, judges can easily be sued. They can be easy. The state judges are dumb as hell. Can we say hell on the radio? The state.
It's said.
I mean, I'd avoid
I'm
it,
sure on
but-
Sunday they say it somewhere.
Oh, it's Sunday. Okay, but the state judges are easily sued. They're not in their right capacity. They're not acting as a judge. I'm sorry, they're acting in their private capacity. That's what make it easy to sue them. But
they make you respect them and pretend like they're judges in that courtroom. And I think a lot of people aren't aware that in that moment, at that capacity, that individual sitting on that bench
has
is
no
not
power.
functioning as a
Has
judge.
no power. They have no power whatsoever. The only power that they have is what we give them.
what we give them.
95% of people incarcerated are there voluntarily. They're in jail voluntarily. Why? Because they don't know their rights. And once you give up your rights, once you take a plea bargain, you can't even speak. You gave up all your rights.
My other question is, I guess, about because we did enter we talked about the dynamics and people talked about money that was owed. There was so much to unpack, but what can we? Is there a way for us to address the disparity between how much a father pays? Like if someone pays child support, someone pays $800 a month to child support. There's no track of how much that other parent is spending. The custodial parent is spending.
Right.
Does that mean that my children are receiving $1,600 a month?
Right.
Or does you get what I'm saying? Am I paying half, or am I financing the children?
Right.
Just my last question.
Well-
Is it a violation of my right for pursuit of happiness if I don't get to determine in which ways I want to support my child? Because nobody will make Bill Gates give his children any amount of millions of dollars.
We're gonna make sure we answer your question. I gotta wrap up, so thank you for your call, but we're gonna make sure we answer your question, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate y'all.
All right, so there's so much to unpack. We apologize, y'all. We wish we had the whole 2 hours to really rock out. If you want to briefly answer that, and then also if you want to give them the information, I know you're doing some workshops,
Right.
So why don't you give that information as well, so we can really unpack this more.
Yeah. He had a lot of questions.
Good questions.
Yeah. But there needs to be more transparency, and there's not. And they don't, all that stuff they don't care about. The only way to address it is to go to court and open the case and say I do not consent. and then take it from there. Then file a motion, and you can sue. And unfortunately, you have to sue.
Yeah.
You have to sue, and then you stop it, and then you make arrangements with your child mother, you and her. And the whole point of this is to get the court out of your business. It's about God. It's not about the courts, and that's the main thing. It's to getting the courts out of our business.
So when can we get, how can we get more information on
So
this?
the second week
Yes.
in November, it's on a Tuesday. The second Tuesday in November is a free seminar talking about how to stop child support, how to sue, and answer all the questions that you have.
So we're going to put more information on our page.
Right.
All right. We got to pay these bills. Make sure you tune in to Electric Drum coming up next with Yusef Shaw. Thank you, everyone. 94.3 WYBC. This is Moving Target.
Peace.
All right.